Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to another day drawing with Cardiff Life Drawing. I'm just going to let this catch up a sec so I can see that I've actually gone live. Beep. Like that. I hope you're all well. I hope you're ready and raring to go. I can see some of you are online waiting. Alex has already said hello. Hello, Alex. You all right? If you want to say anything, there's a little, if you logged in, there's a little chat engine thing and you can say hello, which is always nice. It's nice to see people say hello. And remember, if you do any drawings, to hashtag Cardiff Life Drawing and I shall see them on Instagram or Twitter later on. Although I've got Instagram open on another computer there in case anyone prods me during this. Right. I hope you're all well. We're all well in the studio. We've been doing lots of drawing. So today I am ready to do some warm-ups just to get myself going for the day. And maybe you're going to join me and do some figure drawing at the same time. So I've got a couple of drawings that I've drawn in the past kind of ready in Photoshop. And feel free to draw along. And if you're enjoying it, give me a thumbs up and say hello. So let me just vanish. I'm just going to vanish myself a bit. Wee, like this. Oh, let me do it this way. Woo! I've gone so small. I'm going to chuck myself over in the corner. And I'm going to bring up Photoshop. And hopefully... Oops. That's all about how I want it. Something a bit like that. Cool. Get there now. Right, we are ready to do some awesome drawings. Hopefully, my first one is never my strongest. I've always point that out, but we'll see where it goes. So, move my Cintiq. I've got a couple of drawings here that I've warmed up for today, and well, I've got ready for today, and we'll see where they take us. Hello, Myla. Hello, how are you? Nice to see you back again. So cool. Got a couple of people saying hello. I'm going to pick the right machine now. Hello. There we are. Cool. Nice to see people joining us again this morning. Right, let's do some drawings. I picked a really easy one. It's a classic kind of Nick image there. And then I've got some others that I thought we'd look at as well, obviously. So we're going to do this one. Kind of just want to get that weight balance working and warm up my line quality and warm up my shapes. Okay, so I'm just going to go look straight across the shoulders and I see a nice diagonal line. I think I'm trying to draw with my, trying to draw with white. Trying to draw with white on a white page. Funnily enough, that doesn't work. If anyone gets that to work, do tell me. But yeah, a nice strong line. Nice strong diagonal on those shoulders. I'm always looking at those dynamics, yeah, how we're bending and twisting. Trying to make sure that all my figure drawing isn't just straight, because that's how a lot of people draw, and the figure doesn't just stand straight like that all the time. Trying to get more dynamics into it, aren't I? So, really easy peasy, I'm drawing these kind of boxes, yeah? The upper torso, the rib cage. Just going to draw something like this. Now, this model tapers a little bit in at the waist, but I'm going to draw just a basic shape like that to start with. And I deliberately picked this one because it's front on. So it's very simple. It's those first shapes that I teach everyone, which is just, I'm going to draw the same kind of shape below. Okay, we'll make sure that I don't twist my perpendiculars. Okay, just trying to keep these two like rigid shapes, approximately rigid, something like that. Alright, and we'll see where that takes us. How are we doing? People catching up? Yes, people are coming online. I am going to just put in the hole where the tube of the neck is going to drop in. So it's going to slot into the rib cage, and I'm going to put the front of my sternum down. It's like the centre line down through here, where my zip is, basically down through the sternum. Not all the way down, because the rib cage. Don't draw this too dark. If you don't know, it's going to sit in. It's going to sit in there somewhere, isn't it? And let's see where it all takes us. Awesome. Well, I could put the centre line in, I guess. On this drawing, the centre line comes over and around. That will help in a minute. But I want to get some shape on that stomach in a minute, so I don't want to put too much more in there because I want to get lots of shape on that. Cool. More people joining us. Good morning, everyone. And let's just start building a bit of shape down through this torso. So I'm lightening things out. I do tend to do this in pencil as well. I sketch really lightly, and then I tend to draw my rubber more than my pencil, and kind of continuously, quite a scratchy drawer probably really, but putting rough lines down, using my rubber, and then building lines on top. So what we're going to do in here is we're going to have a bit of the external oblique, and then coming into the hip. This is a little bump there, and then the leg bone. Remember, the leg bone sits in the pelvis, in here and here. Don't draw those, which is why then I'm going to come out on the leg, something like that. I should plot in the legs first, really, before I start doing that. That's a bad idea. There's a nice little diagonal motion in this because what should be happening, again, don't necessarily draw this, but below that head, that balance, the foot needs to come in, which means that I'm going to have a strong diagonal in that leg. Okay, so with that in mind, I'd be thinking about this length, and again, this is probably one length that's equal to that length, which is equal to this length. Well, I've drawn the leg long there. Down there, and then it's equal again down to here. But I'm trying to make sure that's a nice diagonal, and I'm going to put just a place marker in for the foot, and I'm putting in a triangle. Feet coming towards me is a kind of triangle shape. Easy peasy. Now, unlike some of my other poses, this one's got a really nice little weight on this little leg, because it drops forwards. Not so much forwards, yeah, it drops a little bit forwards, but it's not, this leg isn't sticking out here, or something like that, which would be a classic. It's kind of dropping forwards, and then dropping over onto that foot, and raising, they'll be raising on the heel slightly, to make that work. But it's something like that, which is quite nice, it's a nice little stance, that. So that's kind of fun, Cool. Thank you for the thumbs up. If you've given me a thumbs up, thank you very much. So let's build in here. Let's go back to this leg, and I'll come down towards the knee, and I'm sure we'll play with this shape in a minute, but that's going to get me going. And the basic shape is something like that. Remember, we are wider here in the thigh than we are there. Alright, so make sure it's slightly triangular, and we're going to come back to that. Let's place this other leg in. This person is very slight in the top of the legs, so there's a space in the groin between the legs coming down to this knee that's overlapping slightly. We'll play with that in a minute. I'm just going to put a little circle in there. I'm going to remember that the leg bone comes into the torso, so I'm just going to curve around and down, and I'm just going to lighten out some of this construction now because it's getting in the way. Alright. Cool. I hope you've all had a nice week as well. I know the weather's turned a little bit, but that's okay for us drawers because we can sit indoors and draw, which is always fun. Something like this. Right. We're going to draw the other side of the hip. Should be parallel to this, yeah? And parallel in the diagonal as well. So we're going to do something like that coming out on there. And then it's going to stretch up to the rib. So our rib is, I've lent this one a little bit more, it's not a problem. So I've got the stretch here coming down into it from the rib. Alright. Okay, let's put in the tube of the neck. So we're going to build, I want to build up on the trapezius and the deltoid, the shoulder. I'm going to put in just a placeholder for the heads, something like this. Right, and I will often tell you to draw like two ovals. I'll often tell people in my class to draw an oval followed by an oval to allow for the back of the skull. Something like that, if that helps. Great. Right, I'm just going to roll up the jaw and come to the ear. just because if you roll up that, you can see right here, my ear is on my jawbone. So it pulls it back enough. I'm not too worried about that now. But it's easy for me to come down about halfway, drop in the bridge, the eyebrow bridge. About halfway now down, this is generic, so halfway down from the eyebrow to the chin, gives me that nose, and then halfway between the nose and the chin gives me the lips. And the lower lip, as a generic, is a little further back in. It's a little bit, the upper lip is a little bit further out, if that makes sense. Cool. Right. I think in my drawing, she's leaning over in my first drawing a little bit more on the head. I've drawn her a bit more upright, but hey ho. I'm going to come down to the pit of the neck, so I'm going to kind of pull these ligaments down and kind of just suggest the ligament wrapping down, how that wraps around. And I'm going to draw the rounded trapezius. I'm going to draw that cool shoulder now, that deltoid just rolling out, and then it tucks back. So it kind of does this and tucks back, which is kind of cool. It's nice when you see the shoulder defined like that. If I'm drawing too far, she'll need to tell me. And we'll start building some of this other shape. Other deltoid. This arm's going to come out. Let's see where it takes us. So down here, you're going to get the shape of the pectoral muscle here. And then I'm going to draw the bust in. So I'm going to put in my shape on the top of this. So I'm going to draw a bit like that. It's a bit like a pear shape. When we talk about this, there's the centre line that comes over that pectoral muscle and around that form. And I'll use the aureolae to help place kind of gravity, to help the gravity pull it over to one side as the weight is leaning over slightly. I don't think I've got her leaning as much in my first drawing, but I guess that's why we're doing warm-ups. I'm just going to suggest this rib and a bit of that crunch in there. Let's draw the other bust in, and gravity's going to pull it over a little bit. And I'm going to again build the shape of the fat tissue, how it sits, so kind of building this shape up. Again, the centre line would be like that. Don't necessarily need to draw that. And I'm going to pull the aureolae over, because it's obviously gravity's pulling it over somewhat. Something like that. Cool. Pectoral muscle here, curving, and then into the shape of that bust. Now this is showing, this has got a nicer twist in it actually. On this drawing I've shown more of the side of the figure, so I'm just going to pull that up there, and then I'm going to pull this into the arm. Let's get some generic measurements working. Something like that. Same distance again, so this should be fairly similar to that. Okay, so it's that length of the arm. And as a generic, if you've drawn with me last few weeks, you know I'm putting that wider muscle in here, and it stops about halfway down, and I'm going to hit the hand. So on that hand shape, it's like, oh, it's a hand. It's really simple because we're just kind of doing really quick little gesture drawings here. So we're just going to put the flat top shape of the hand in. So we're drawing this plane here. And then we're just gonna, we can just put a mitten in for now. Do something like this, and we'll drop that thumb in and put the knuckle in and suggest how that shape sits. And I deliberately drew the thumb then flat and then curved. So that was the top, that's where the nail sits, that's why I've drawn it like that. And we'll drop in, I'll just drop in this finger, and I'm going to curve the underneath, and I'll put the other fingers together, I think. Just suggest the knuckle lines. And because when I pull out, it's not, I don't want it to get major detail because it's not a detailed drawing of the hand. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be, you know, like a suggestion of the hand, what it's doing within my drawing. Something like that. Cool. Let's just get a little bit more shape in here. I'm going to loosen out some of those lines. I'm going to get a little bit of shape on that deltoid, a little bit more weight on the bottom of that muscle. Hopefully I've got that long enough. Going to roll a little bit of weight in my line to get a curve in there and make sure it overlaps. Just there. Coming out, collarbone. Coming up maybe. collarbone is, I saw someone really nicely online that kind of described it a bit like this, like motorbike handlebars. And then these lengths are the same, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And actually, I really like the way, it's a good way I think of describing it, and it seems to work. And remember, you don't draw it all, you're suggesting elements of it, so I think that really works really quite nicely, if that helps. I was just suggesting it in there. Cool. Hand's a little dead, but it will do. I'm just really quickly going to drop in an eyebrow, and then I'm going to suggest down to the eye, and I'm just going to close the eye, or just suggest like that, or do something like that. Fine. And I'll, whoa, there was a line. I'm going to tuck some, let me just check what that's doing. Let me go to my brushes. And for some reason it's lost my transfer. So that was just the Cintiq playing with me. Sometimes does that. Not that often, but it sometimes does it. Sorry about that. Let me roll the hair, tucking the hair behind the ear basically. And then we talk about hair being a wig, like a helmet that sits on the skull. Remember those first lines were the skull, so even if this hair is quite tight and pulled back over the skull, it should have a little bit more volume over it. And I'm going to just imagine this tied in here, and there's like a bun or something. Not a bun, a ponytail, just dropping back as a generic. And I will drop some shape in there. Couple of lines suggesting the flow. I'm not going to do a lot more than that. Just kind of building it up now as part of the drawing. Okay, let's get a bit of shape in the stomach. Imagine the stomach, there's the roundness of the stomach in here. So I'm just going to use some lines to kind of build that form. And then because of that, I'm going to think about how my belly, what direction the belly button is. So that would depend on how I'm trying to draw the line. I'm going to draw it something like this. And I'm going to try and get a little bit of form in this. Down into the groin. And then we'll do some direction lines down and coming down into the groin here. We've got the front of the Icarus crest like here and here. Alright. So a little bit of shape and then that change in motion here. So remember it's going like that. Let me draw that knee, and that knee is fairly frontward facing. So it's sat like that, just that little oval. Gonna lighten out the top, because when I draw the oval I tend to suggest the bottom of that knee a bit. Just gonna play with some weight on that line, and that curve. Cool, coming into that, and then we shall suggest now the calf at the bottom, about halfway, and I'm gonna draw that generic shape. Remember, don't draw these, but it will be slightly weighted that way and the ankle bones will be weighted that way. Alright, so it should feel lower there, coming down into the ankle. And then we'll draw this other leg so we're not getting too far ahead of one bit. So we want a bit of shape around that groin, the way I've drawn it on here, and then coming into that stomach shape. Letting that disappear around, and then see that's the front of the Icarus crest there. So I can get a little bit of shape on this muscle and then come towards that knee. This knee now is going to sit very slightly over, almost like the centre line does that, and I come across to there. Don't necessarily draw this, so it's doing that. Draw that one, that one. Don't necessarily draw these, just trying to show how that kind of sits, or how my thinking of it sits. Okay, so the shin is just over slightly, and I'm going to roll around that knee, and we're going to draw the other calf. Got to give me the side here. So if this is the front of the knee box, you need the side wall. So that means like just pulling that line back in that knee. So I'm drawing the side, I'm allowing this side wall here, if that makes sense. So then I can get a little bit of shape on that calf and pulling down into the ankle. Got the shape on here, a bit of weight on that line, down into there. And ankle bones. Down into that ankle bone. I'm just pulling that ankle high there, because I might want to show just a tiny bit of heel here and down onto the ball of the foot, and I might place the toe. I'm going to suggest the big toe. I'm not getting worried too much because I'm going to zoom out in a minute and you're not going to see much of this. So I've got the other toe in here, just placing it on the top, the nail on the top plane. Ankle bone supposedly a little bit lower on the other side, and I'm just going to suggest, I'm not going to do a lot because I'm going to pull out. It didn't need a lot more because this is, I don't know, it's just a quick, supposedly a quick gestural study. I don't suppose I'm doing it that quickly, but a few lines in here. Cool. First drawings kind of coming together. Wonder if I'm along in the upper leg there, but hey ho. Pulling the knee up and cheating. Pulling the knee up very slightly. Get a little bit more length. That lower leg. Okay, first thing is we got to imagine the bone kind of doing this and about the same length like that. This arm, so it kind of pops out. So think about where it sits underneath, so it's all going to connect. I'm going to do a little curved line here. Try and make sure it gets a little bit wider there than there, so it's slightly triangular, so it's going to be dead otherwise, with a little bit curved to it. And somehow on this I've drawn, oops, I have drawn a classic kind of hand. So it's very side on, this hand. It's kind of like a triangle like that. And what I'm doing is just building the structure of the thumb. And I'm just going to split one finger out and then suggest the other fingers are kind of back in there. Again, keeping it quite relaxed because it shouldn't be a hyper detailed part of the drawing. Your eye shouldn't be dragged or drawn towards it. It should feel about right. I'm just shortening that finger to the, like, detail wise to the rest of the gesture of the drawing. Something like that. Feels like it's turning too much actually. But anyway. Ugh. Is what it is. First drawing, something like that. Not a great fan of the way I've drawn that. Maybe that feels a bit better. Okay, first drawing. Cool. That was alright. We'll get better and stronger than when we draw, so not too bad. Might want to show a little bit of, suggest a little bit of that rib. She shouldn't be pulling really tight there, so get a little bit more shape in there. Could suggest a bit more of the crunch. Some of that ab wall. I don't know, it's fine. I'm fiddling now, but it's fine. Just a bit of suggestion down that shape. Yay, cool. Good, good, good. Let's do another one. I hope you enjoyed that one. If you're enjoying it, give me a thumbs up. Say hello. I've got a side one. A slightly 3/4 one there. Thought we'd try this one. So I'm going to pull this over. And we'll get ready to start that one. Let's jump in there. Let me have a slurp of drink. Beep, beep. So, let me start this next one. So I'm going this one I kind of like today. So I'm going to draw a kind of shoulder line in. Suggestion of where that's going to sit. I know that there's a nice strong angle. Nice strong angle like this, and then back. Yeah, so that's your kind of something like that. It's kind of cool. Alex says, "Are you dabbing? Is that a dab from Alex? I'm not sure. Dab emoji." And it says, "Hello, good to know you're all doing all right." Let's jump in there. Okay, I'm gonna let's put in that hole for the neck, because it's gonna help me get my centre line right over. That's why. Hey, Anna's here as well. Hello, how are you? Good to see you're drawing with us as well. If we do portraits, we'll let you teach that bit, because you're very good at it. Gonna do something like that. Big dab, Alex says. Big dab. It's a big dab. See? I'm learning. What I'm thinking about here is the rib. So I've got this lovely kind of, we're looking like into the rib cage slightly. So I just want to try and get that working. And thinking about how that rib sits somehow like this, and you're kind of seeing inside the rib cage. Woo, like that. Cool, something like that. It's nice when you comment, because it just feels like someone else is in the room. It's like talking to myself. Like lonely, talking to myself. And then you say things, and it's like, oh, you're there. So, a bit like that. And I think what we'll do is, I'm going to build like a stomach shape. I'm going to place it in here. We'll see. Because what I'm interested in is going from like this, the 10th rib's down here, I think, actually. But from the end of this rib, I'm going to stretch down. And watch so I don't make it too cartoony and Marvel or manga. There should be I'm drawing like a form, like a stretch, sorry. And then I'm going to come out on that stomach. Kind of enjoying the shapes. And we're going to come down into the groin. It's going to do something like that. I hope that kind of makes sense. Let me pull it over a bit. So I'm kind of building that up. Kind of, I want to feel it stretch over that rib and stretch down from that rib cage, down through here, and then come into that, the nice roundedness of the stomach down into the groin. I want to feel that. And even if I put that centre line in slightly, yeah, I just want to really kind of feel that form. Hannah says, she's helping with the lack of motivation. I know, it can be funny, can't it? Yeah. Funny times. I'm going to pull this down. And then I'm going to belly button in. Whoop, whoop. Remember, I'm drawing it. A belly button is like, you know, there's a belly button, because we're looking at it on this side, you need to be suggesting something like that. It matters. And then on this drawing, she seemed to come out on that stomach, and she had a little bit there, and then down into the groin. So I'm just kind of just playing with the shape. Why not? Just enjoying the drawing, playing the shapes, pulling it all together. You know, but I'm trying to really, in fact, I'm going to come around, I'm going to flatten and then come into that. I'm going to get even more shape on that. Shh. Yeah, if that made sense again. Lauren! What are my PSD settings? Which pencil is it? Having a dabble on my Wacom. Cool. It won't interrupt the class too much. I'm probably using a generic pencil. I'm not using anything clever. let me see if I can open that up. I've got, I think, a normal pencil that's a dry pencil. And shape dynamics, and I got my transfer on. The transfer is allowing it go from light to dark, so it needs to be on pen pressure. I'm quite lazy with brushes actually, and I just use a generic pencil for sketching, and then I'll sometimes use the chalk or the charcoal ones if I'm doing a little bit of more painterly, like blocking in, because I like the additional texture. But you can't always get the point as nice. But I play around with it before you start. I play around with it and get a size I like and get the feel of it. Hope that helped a bit. Right, let's build, because we can, I want to build this hip because it's kind of cool. So I've got the rib here, I've got the squash here. This is nicely drawn on this side because I'm actually totally drawing around, that line's too thick now, but I'm drawing around that external oblique and I'm letting it roll. Don't draw this exactly, but it's like it sits here somehow. But I'm kind of drawing that, and then it overlaps the hip actually slightly, but then I'm kind of coming into the hip shape and drawing the side wall of the hip. And what I've done nicely there is kind of suggested the leg, and then I'm going to drop this length in. Now I need to zoom out to make sure I get my measurements working here. Alright, so this distance here should be about that distance there, which should be about the same as that upper torso distance on a generic measurement. And I'm gonna just shape this leg a bit because that knee is coming slightly towards us, but that's kind of cool. This is kind of just gonna build basic shapes here like that, wider there than there. Yeah, you all know that. Let's go back in. Build a bit of shape in here. The buttock really, and creating shape there. If I wanted more shape in the buttock muscle, I could come in and then have a little bit of change of direction, very slightly in there somewhere. Be very subtle. I guess I'm doing it with mark making, so I'm making it the weight different. I want to enjoy that. Don't make that line too dark, but I'm kind of joining the shapes, rounding the shape around that, thinking about, would I see any of the hollow? No, maybe. No worries, Lauren. Hope it helped. And let's just get a little bit of shape in that groin. I'm going to enjoy how it sits around on that other side. And let me get some generics. I've kind of got seduced drawing that hip and drawing that stomach, and probably what I need to do is just get some lengths in there to make sure the whole drawing is going to sit in the end. Actually, this figure is fairly. I was going to draw this leg back, which would have been incorrect, to say that actually it's standing a bit like that. So I almost went on autopilot. It just means I've got to reposition that knee shape a bit. Well, that wasn't. I suppose that was the barrel of the leg, but anyway. That'll work. Right. Calf about halfway. The rest of the leg up onto the toe. So drawing that triangle. Basic shapes, that triangle. We'll come back to it in a minute. Because it's on the toe, we just draw the toe. Allow for the little fold there. Alright, we can get that other leg in a minute. Let's probably come to the top. Let's get the tube of the neck dropping in. And it looks like the head was raised, didn't spend a lot of time on it. So again, I will sometimes talk about oval, oval. And I'm trying to, I didn't spend a lot of time on that, but I'm trying to, maybe on this drawing I can, because I'm spending a bit more time on this now, is draw some of the underneath of that. It's not the underneath the chin, it's not easy to do. If there's ever opportunity, I should be tackling it really. It can, if you pull it off, it can look fab. So what you're trying to do is think about the fact that you're looking underneath that plane there. we'll see. We'll see if I can kind of pull it off, kind of something like this. Depends, I think, where I want my centre line to be. Because then my jawline needs to come back. Which, if I pull my jawline there, I've got to pull the back of the head in. Back of the skull in a bit more, because my ear is going to come back on that jawline. Yeah? Ear, jaw. Which meant I definitely needed more shape in the back of that skull. Okay, I'm enjoying that now. I kind of got that working roughly. So what I am going to do is pull that ligament down. So can't see this lightning. I'm going to twist my neck. This kind of pulls down to the pit of the neck. Kind of just adds... It can add a little bit more shape in the drawing, I think. I quite like it, so something like that. I'm doing for time, kind of just totally slowing down and kind of just drawing, but that's okay. While we're there, we'll put this about coming across from the ears where I know where that is. I'm going to just place, because then I'm going to put the bridge of the eyebrow, and I'm going to put just the nose over slightly, and I want to suggest the underneath plane of that nose. The nostril. I'm going to do a lot more. About halfway down here, I'm going to put in a line, and the underneath lip. Pull that back. See. Now I don't want to get too seduced. Whoa, because I'm out there really. So it was easy for me to kind of zoom in. But in the end, it's not a major part of this drawing. I'm going to come around, make sure these are rounded when you draw the eyes and things like that. Come around, I'm just going to close the eyes. This is for speed and ease and laziness maybe. I'm just going to roll, 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 something like that. We'll come back to it. No, that's kind of cool. Kind of works. Okay. Right, let's come into the chest. So we've got the arm up. We've got the pectoral muscle sitting in here. This arm is raised. Kind of sat in like that. This arm comes right up, doesn't it? Just pull this drawing down so we can get some lengths working. So we're going to come down here. We're going to raise that pectoral muscle because she's pulling that arm up, so it's pulling the pectoral muscle up slightly in there. It's lifting it. And then we've got the side bust and it's lifting. So put a curve here. This should fit. This should now feel like it rolls around, kind of. So we're going to lift, try and lift this bust. Drop it around the frame. And the same on the other side, we're lifting. So let's just get a little bit of, let's try and pull that up. Not easy drawing underneath the armpit. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to put in the top of the arm, see where it takes me. And I'm going to pull this muscle down into the pec, so the pec kind of sits like that. That was really badly drawn. But it's trying to create a little bit of shape into this underneath this armpit, which I'm not an expert at. I need to study a little bit more. I imagine Proco's got some really cool stuff on it. I need to go back and look at it a little bit more to get, because you get this muscle that comes out there, and you get the other side coming into the lat. And it feels about right. I could just sit here and pretend I know everything and just say things, but to be honest, you know, we're all learning. Don't know everything. You kind of keep searching. You're always learning in waves a bit, aren't you? This pectoral muscle now is lifting, hopefully lifting this bust is what we're trying to do. So this one we can come back and build a little bit, build that shape, and I'm going to pull the areola up. So we're looking underneath the bust slightly as it pulls into that. Cool, that's actually starting to come together, I think. Back of the rib. Let's just lighten that. I'm just dropping very light marks. Don't draw. Although we would see some of the rib, we don't want to look like slashes across the figure. Just be careful with your mark making. I'm going to draw the other side of that deltoid in there. A bit more shape in this. We'll see if this starts to feel like it's coming together. It's doing something. I'm going to quick form that. So wider here than there. I'm going to round at the top there. Just drawing around forms always. Pulling it back. Checking I've got that working. I don't know what the hand was doing. Maybe it was tucking back so you're seeing the two shapes. Basically you're seeing this and this, those two rounded shapes. Maybe there's fingers, tips sticking out. I have no idea. Doesn't really matter at this stage. Let's suggest that elbow a bit. Ooh. Cool. That one drops back. We're not going to see a lot of that. I'm just going to get a little bit more structure on this hair, pull it behind the ear, pulling it back. Not worried too much. I want to pull that neck back. Got the deltoid set up in there. Something like that. I spent a lot of time on that. I hope it's working. But actually, it's cool. It's coming in the right direction. Right, we want to draw this other leg, and what we're going to try and do is keep a diagonal motion in that hip. So this is kind of cool on this side because you know that I kind of like how you can do this sometimes. You can see the other side of that hip like that in this angle, and it scoops, which is this flat wall here. So I'm seeing the other side of that, and that roundness and that leg, and then we're getting the leg sitting in there. So you got the stomach stretch, you got the belly button I've raised up in there. Let's get some shapes in here, maybe some shape in that ab wall, not too much. Something like that. On this drawing I'm going to see a little bit at the back of the leg, the other leg probably starting to come into that calf. A lot of it's hidden. I'm going to imagine it in there, don't necessarily draw that line, but that's what I'm following my lines through. It's really important, things that you connect them through. Because then I'm going to draw this, that triangle shape for the other foot. So we're nearly done. I've just got to pull that back. Wap, 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 wap. Yeah. And if you want a bit of shape on there, I'm going to drop the toe in. I'm going to drop the ball, just try and get a little bit of shape away from that triangle, the ball into the heel. Maybe on this drawing I would see a little bit of that ankle bone. Just get a little bit of weight on that calf. Oh, I seem to do it low then. Suggest that knee bone, that it's slightly 3/4. Make sure you got a nice distance here, because again you're showing the side wall. You should be pulling down into the ankle bone this side, because it's slightly turning. That will help turn it. On that, the drawing I drew, I actually almost followed it through onto that. So I'll just pull a little bit of shape back on that heel, and then I'm going to turn the foot. That's to do with the shin bone being like there. Well, what I'm trying to do is probably pull that shin bone in here, and then the front center line is there. So I'm showing a little bit more of the front of the foot. It seems to be how I'd originally drawn it. So then I'm going to show the big toe and the other toes rolling around. Oops, a little bit of shape there. Ugh. Wow. A little bit of wrestle in there. Again, I have to be careful working close because that's kind of the image. Yeah, kind of, yeah. A lot of stretch, a lot of shape. Cool. Wonder if she looks short in the leg. It's fine. Good, good, good. How are we doing for time? I'm destroying time, like usual. We've done 2. We never do like 2 or 3, don't we? They're okay. Let me just grab that and move that over a bit. I can't grab it. My line is too much. Oh. Just while you are finishing up. That's what I'm going to do. Sorry, wrong tool. Just going to pull her over a bit. Got there in the end. Sorry about that. Right, I've got a couple of others. I have got this one. It's a bit blurry. And it's kind of like, this was off a kind of, I have some cool photographs of, I guess, someone that has skills in acrobatics, for the want of a word, maybe pole dancing. She's hanging off kind of, not a ribbon, but something, but that's kind of cool. I had this one I keep pulling up, but I never quite get around to drawing it. But maybe we'll try this one today, this lengthy one. Let's see if we can build it. You've got to be strong to do that kind of stuff. It's kind of amazing core strength to do that. So we're drawing a figure upside down, which is kind of fun. We'll see where it takes us. Okay. Right, upside down figures. Let's draw. Let me draw. I'm going to draw like the rib. This is the top of the figure, and I'm. Whoa. She didn't do that right because she's actually. She's like that in the rib cage. And then somehow she breaks her lower torso. Go on, I'm working. This is making me work hard. Who picked this? Something like that. I need a little bit more height on that, I think. I think that feels about right. I'm just going to suggest the centre line. It's not going to be completely right yet, but I want to make sure I'm getting the three-dimensionality of this and coming all the way over in that sternum there. Let's see if we can get all that working. We've got this leg coming. Let's get a little bit of shape on that leg. So I'm putting the tube of this leg in because it comes forward. So I want to get the foreshortening of that. So I'm actually going to draw that tube in perspective. Just angle sight my last drawing, and then the other leg. There's an S curve in there, just for grace, and come right out on that hip properly. Cool. Is that good? How's everyone doing with that? Right. Like it kind of, she pulls. Oops, can't see. Pulls back in the shoulder. So something like that. It's going to come back. I'm putting in guidelines at the moment. Get my lengths. Doop, boop. And because of that, the hand's got a break direction because this material does that, and then the weight does something like this. I hope this makes sense. I'm not sure I'm being cohesive today. I think you can actually hear my brain whirring today. Let's see where we take this. Okay, this is cool. It's sitting. You are seeing like over this side of the pectoral muscle and the bust. You don't see a lot of that, the shape of it. You don't see like an outside edge. It's probably fairly small in the bust. And I think the way we're looking on it on there, we're going to see the rib, because this is the rib doing it's doing that. That's kind of cool. let's see where that sits. And then I'm trying to draw the other side now, the pectoral muscle, and I've got a diagonal there, which means I need to keep this kind of parallel. So I'm going to draw this kind of the side view of that bust, and I'm going to roll it back. And we'll see where that takes us. We're not seeing that much shape in that. We're just seeing an outside edge on that. We're not seeing like lines in here or anything, really. We're seeing kind of the sternum curve, and then the rib, and then the stretch. Wow! Let's come over here. Let's get this neck in if we can. This drawing has got to square off the shoulder a bit more. And then I'm going to try and get that neck. Not sure if I'm going to place this. And before we get too far, let's put in some generics for that head. Let's see if we can start, because it actually tucks back. Where did I get the reference from this one from? There's a good chance DeviantArt, probably, if you know that site. There's quite a lot on there. And I can't remember off the top of my head where. I'll try and have a look. I'll try and have a look and come back to you on that. But there was a couple of them. There's several of them. There's a page I drew. There's only one image on there, but it's in one of those sketchbooks. And there was 3 or 4 of them. And the weight is cool. She's hanging off the material and at different angles and twisting, and they're really, really good. I imagine it was DeviantArt. Don't know for sure, but I imagine you'd have to search for figure poses or something. You'll get a stack of stuff, which I'm sure you're well aware of. So let's just see where this is. And again, I want to try and draw underneath the chin on this. I haven't got a great shape on that, but I want to suggest that at this angle you're looking at underneath the chin plane. So then I can get a little bit more shape in that head. Let me just drop in a centre line. I'm staying quite a long way out of that. I don't want to get into a massive portrait. I don't want to get into the fight of that. I just want to suggest, but I want it to be part of the drawing. I don't want it to be suddenly unforgotten at the end. So if my chin's going down here, then I know that my eye line's going to be a little bit higher up because of the foreshortening if that lifts. And I want to draw the plane underneath the nose, and I want to suggest the lip and underneath that lower lip, and I'm deliberately just using marks, keeping these round. So this eye line now just rounded. I'm deliberately just using marks to kind of suggest the forms of the head. I'm rolling around from the eye and around from the nose, and allowing that ear to drop back. The hair would sit in here, maybe to a centre line, and then gravity is going to make some come down. I'm not going to do a lot more than that at the moment, and that is certainly not perfect, but it's kind of suggesting where I want it to go. Whoop, whoop. Sorry, my whoop, whoop. There it is. My tools were appearing and not appearing. If you're drawing with a graphics tablet, sometimes if your pens disappear, I sometimes have to pull it off and just come back, and it kind of reboots in. Don't know why. Who knows? I'm going to get a little bit more there. I'm getting wrapped up in this now, and I said that was the whole point, is I didn't want to get wrapped up in that. So I'm drawing too much. I'm not actually liking it. I liked it earlier, I think. So let's ignore it a bit and come back. So we're getting sucked into it a bit. Let's come back into the torso. Let's get some shape in here. This is cool. This is the stuff that we're happy with. We've got the back of the buttock and the leg, so we're coming around that. Awesome. Coming down into that hip. Nice. Round that hip, and I'm going to allow that to come up. Kind of drew this on top of that rib cage, and that rib cage now I want to get a little bit of curve onto that and let it tuck behind. So it's kind of sitting in there. The stomach's I'm gonna drop that belly button way lower because the stomach's gonna be kind of sat right down in here. So we've got this lovely kind of stretch. We're going to come around the groin, but there's a lot of stretch in this. So I'm going to get the belly button up here in this drawing, and placing it higher in mine and coming out from that belly button around that stomach. Around that stomach. Around that groin, the other side of that groin into that. Too much shade there. Weird drawing upside down. Come to this knee a sec. I'm going to see underneath the bottom of that knee. I don't know whether the top of that knee is going to be in there or something. Around that knee shape like this. So again, I want that shape from the front of the Icarus crest. So I've deliberately drawn this and letting it lighten off. Here, you need the side wall and the front wall of that knee. And this actually, in this drawing, was coming right back. So you get like foreshortening and everything. And you almost are seeing the calf. And an ankle bone. Then actually the foot was holding the material. So you're seeing the top of the foot with the toes, and the toe was that's how she was holding it. It's like crazy. So actually I've got to get more angle on that. The toe is kind of like clinging on. The top of the toe is clinging on. It's like crazy, yeah. At that construction. Right, let's get this other knee in. Enjoy the length of that leg. And then come in. And then what you're seeing is the hip. So imagine the front wall of the hip here. It's the other side of that, parallel. That wasn't very parallel. So that. That's kind of working. I've got my knee a little bit low in that drawing. I'm going to pull it back up. I know that because I'm looking at this length compared to some of these other lengths. So it was just getting really long. Right, let's get the shin. Some generic measurements now. Yeah, now I know this length should be similar to kind of that length now. So these are easy for me to place in because these are what I call flat lengths. There's no foreshortening in it. Oh, let's get that calf in. Sorry. Drawing a figure upside down. I still don't like that knee. Hang on. Get that knee in. Get the back of that leg in. And then I'm going to draw that calf. Ah! Can't stand how we're drawing that knee. Maybe I got it too far down. I suppose it is what it is. Probably one of those things I need to turn the drawing the other way up, but I can't turn my Cintiq. Oh, I can rotate it actually. Beep. There is a really cool tool there, which is that one. So I've cheated. I've turned it the other way up. And I just feel like I've got to pull that knee a little bit higher. Doesn't feel too bad. And on that tool, I just pick, I go back there and I click reset view and it flicks it back. If you've not used that before, this is the rotate hand tool. It's really good. It's in the latest version of CC, because if I was drawing traditionally, when I was like first worked in the animation industry, we worked on big light boxes. We've still got them actually in the studio. You have a big disc, and the idea is you turn the paper, you turn the disc, and it's to do with how you draw arcs naturally. You naturally draw an arc like that. So if you're trying to draw an arc like that, you actually want to turn the paper so you're using the natural curve in your hand. So it's to do with that, and that's why we want to use those, especially people that do lining in, like if you like do more of a cartoon line where you do single strokes. One of my team, Lexi, does those. She draws beautifully like that. She just does these single strokes and they're amazing. I'm way too scrappy a drawer probably for it. It's much more easy because you're turning the paper the same way as you would traditionally. So it's the rotate hand tool. I think it's only on CC. So we've got an older version of Photoshop. You can draw that ankle bone in. I'm just drawing the generic triangle shape. We're nearly done actually on this one. I'm just drawing that kind of shape like that. Now, to get this kind of feeling like there's a bit of weight off this toe, I am going to pull the material from the toe slightly and then make sure it comes to that hand. So something like that. I'm not going to worry too much. I am going to draw the roundness of the hand with the thumb kind of clutching on. Hopefully I'm not drawing it too big. Maybe there's fingers kind of holding that like this, and we're going to draw this forearm. I'm going to round that, that's in front of, thinner at the wrists, slightly wider in that shape. And then I'm going to draw this. This would be quite a lot of strength in that right now. And I am going to pull that shoulder back and get that deltoid nice and strong. Just to get some strength in that, because she would actually be holding quite a lot of weight in that wrist and that arm actually. I think it came out like this. This is what those lines are trying to do. That's the material coming out of the hand and it comes back in there. So you can use some mark making to kind of get some strength in that. Deliberately changed direction there and it needed to come around the foot. It's like wrapping around the foot and up. That. You might be able to hear my baby actually crying away. He's okay. Something like that into the heel. Oh, my youngest. And I think the idea was the toe was on the way. Cool. That's about it. I think I'm gonna soften that chin. Gonna curve. Do I love the portrait? No, it wasn't about drawing a portrait though. I certainly didn't want to make it about drawing a portrait. I could imagine she had longer hair. Might be interesting. I don't know. It's an exercise in itself, drawing a head at that angle. I think that's about it. I'm not going to add a lot more to that, I think. I think I'm okay with it. I was kind of happy with it. If I want to get that a little bit more strength on that material there, just pull those into that. So it's like it's pulling out somehow. Something like that. Anyway, if you're on the chat engine, tell me what you thought of that. Did you enjoy that one? I have others of that. If you want to do some more of those next time, next week, we could do some more of those poses. I just want to draw like that, darken that underneath that armpit. I'm trying to keep, I don't want to bring that out. I want this nice long length here because of the way it's kind of pulling back. Oops, where am we going? So I'm pulling it back. So the collarbone might even be, I don't know, in there somewhere. I think a little bit more shape there. Would you, for that reason, get a little bit more definition on that lat there? Cool. Yeah, pros and cons, all fun. Really don't like that face, but hey. Win some, you lose some. That's what it is. Oh, my machine's just paused for a moment. Hang on. Whoop. Whoop. Those are our little drawings today. That's probably it time-wise. I've got other things I'm afraid I need to do. Cool. I hope you enjoyed that. I'll be back next week and keep going for the moment on these for sure. We're in the studio, try and make time for this. If you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up. If you've got any questions or anything, as I'm just shutting down, the chat box will be running just for a couple of moments. If you draw it and post images, please feel free to, please put hashtag Cardiff Life Drawing and I'll kind of check it out there. Thank you, Mele. Good, I hope you enjoyed it. And cool, keep drawing, keep having fun. And hopefully I'll see you next week. And take care, yeah? Take care, guys. Bye-bye. And I will log off and do this and end my stream. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.